Recording. Well, welcome to this podcast of some sorts. We don't have a name for it yet. We don't know who's actually going to listen. We're kind of just doing it because we like to talk to each other. I'm Tanner Smith.
I'm Taylor Smith.
And we'll find a name for whatever we're going to call this eventually and put it somewhere for at least our families to listen to. But we just kind of wanted to have some of our conversations recorded because we have cool conversations quite often.
Yeah. We talked also about just like we want to be able to save some of these things for our posterity. You know, Tanner just he and his wife Lexi just had their first baby, little baby boy Beckham. And you know, that kind of got Tanner thinking about all of this and like things that we want them to know about, stories and things like that. But yeah, we're kind of just figuring this out as we go. So
Yep. Currently sitting on the couch with one mic in between us while there's construction and dogs chewing on bones. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. We don't have any really set outline for any of this yet, but the more we do it, the more we have to talk about. We'll kind of figure out and fine tune exactly what we want to do. And just like Taylor said, we're mostly this is for posterity more than anything, have them be able to kind of look into our lives through different times, and hopefully we'll be able to like have specific episodes for cool things we do and kind of crazy experiences that may happen to us that we can be excited to share. For this first one, I kind of had the idea where we wanted to start off and why it's me and Taylor doing this together. And you know, obviously we both have brothers that we've been close with our entire lives, and maybe why not them, and kind of just show you into mine and Taylor's relationship a little bit. Kind of see where that leads us. Hopefully we aren't talking for forever, but
yeah. I guess like just to start, so Tanner and I are cousins. We're first cousins. Our dads are brothers, pretty close in age.
Yeah,
maybe
18 months, I think.
Yeah.
My dad is younger, the third of 7 kids, and Nate, Taylor's dad, is the second.
Yeah. So we kind of like, as like young kids, I'd say we were kind of close, just kind of how all young kids are. Like, always played with each other when we were at grandma's house, which we often refer to as the olds. Nothing like really out of the ordinary as far as that goes. Me and my brother McKay always got along really well with Tanner and his brother Jordan when we were young.
Yeah. I mean, I have not tons of memories, but fond memories of like playing with Ninja Turtles, playing with horses from Spirit, the movie, playing with just other random stuff, kind of throughout the years. I don't think we ever saw each other more than maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And our parents mom specifically kind of had weird relationships growing up with each other, and that always kind of pushed us apart just naturally.
Yeah, super random. Like something I remember we would do often at the olds is because they used to have, before they remodeled their house, they had like the long hallway going back, and we'd play like 4-player monkey in the middle, but we all had to be on our knees, which like hardwood floor, and we were just on our knees just throwing a ball back and forth. So you'd have like kind of one person guarding one and the other person guarding the other.
Right.
I just remember that being super intense all the time.
I had completely forgotten about that. Yeah, but I remember specifically Jordan being in the middle all the time.
Always, dude. He always was. Jordan as a little kid was so much different than he is now.
Yeah,
like
he was a really happy little kid. Just happy to do whatever it was that people wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Not to say that he's like...
Okay, Bo, stop.
Nice little lick on the mic there.
Thanks, buddy.
I don't know. Yeah, he was just really, really different. He was kind of more like Sam a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more outgoing for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he had some hard things that he went through in elementary school. For sure, that kind of changed him. But yeah, looking back on all of those memories, I always thought you guys were the coolest because you guys were super outgoing, super friendly, both you and McKay, and you were open to just talking to us, which wasn't something that I don't think I was very good at as a kid, just going and talking to people and being super friendly. I was more of an introvert, whereas I think you and McKay are more extroverts naturally. I don't know if you're extroverts, but you're more extroverted than Jordan and I am.
Yeah, I hear that. Which is kind of it's kind of funny to hear you say that because I remember it definitely being like that. Because even like you said, even though we only saw each other like a handful of times a year, for a while we just picked back up where we had left off naturally pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Once we kind of got to like junior high age, 12, 13, 14.
Age. Mm-hmm.
I remember there being just like a lot of angst anytime that I knew I was going to be around you guys because I thought you guys were so cool. And I was like, I don't have anything to bring to this. I have nothing to contribute. No cool stories. It's not like we can just go play with Ninja Turtles again.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where it started.
Pushing us apart.
Yeah, our interests started being different. You got super, super into basketball. I got super, super into football.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think kind of just a natural rift started to grow between us.
Right, and I think our younger brothers both kind of followed us in both of those aspects a little bit.
Yeah. I think also the times that we would be there together, my family was always there for just a shorter time,
right.
An hour and a half max, because my mom just hated being over there, or she was passed out at home from her various activities that we can touch on later.
Yeah, the times that we were together definitely came few and far between.
Yeah.
And for shorter amounts of time when we actually did see each other. Until it was probably, I don't think we even were hanging out, the four of us, me and you and our younger brothers, with Becky, Bo, chill out. I don't think we were hanging out at all up until she had started planning San Francisco towards the year before our senior year, so 2016.
Yeah. The way I remember that all kind of coming about, and this is something that we want to do, special episodes with our brothers and with Becky, to just talk about the impact it had on all of us. But kind of how the San Francisco trip was brought about is Becky had this idea of doing a trip where we could see as many professional sports games from as many different sports as possible within one trip. That's how I remember it starting.
Yeah, for sure. That's how I remember it as well. And I think I remember her bringing this up because she took your older sister Eliza to New York for kind of the same idea of a trip right before senior year. Obviously, it was a different trip for her interests then, but she kind of wanted to do this for all of her nieces and nephews.
Yeah, Becky's never married. She doesn't have any of her own kids, and we all see her as a very special mother figure.
For sure.
Super, super influential on all of our lives and everything in our development. So to us, it wasn't odd to do, like, to go on a trip with Becky. Um, but I remember being super nervous at the idea of spending like an extended period of time with just you guys and Becky,
Yeah.
and being around you the whole entire time.
Yeah, I agree. And to quickly jump back a little bit to use years before, um, I remember family vacations as well, which we kind of obviously around the same time period started to fade out into our teenage years. I remember we always got super close on those trips as well.
Yeah.
We'd have a super great time together, and then by the end of the trip, like we're friends, like actual friends, and then it would be kind of having to build that relationship again.
Yeah, up in like the Island Park trips.
Up in Yellowstone.
The one year we all stayed up at the Zermatt in Midway. Yeah, like always just like really dumb random things. Like I remember, the one cabin that we were staying at in Island Park, there was just randomly we found a Sega console,
a Street Fighter.
Yeah. And that was like the thing that we kind of just bonded over, just playing that once we got back from like our outings during the day.
Right. Or there was another year where we did Nerf Wars with everyone, which was super fun. We bought a bunch of Nerf guns up there. Aiden, our other cousin Jake's son, famously said, "Don't shoot the medic," while shooting everyone else.
I'm just the medic.
I'm just the medic.
He'd like be playing the game and like shooting other people at any time someone shoot. No, I'm the medic. I'm the medic. I got a huge goose egg that day too. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. This roof was super slanted in this house, and like the
it was
area.
like A-framed up at the top.
Right. And I don't remember exactly. You'll have to tell exactly. But what I remember is that you were like running around a pool table, or maybe it was a foosball table that was right there. You were like running around it, and you just like almost knocked yourself out.
Just caught my head right on. I thought I had like plenty of room, because I remember looking back. I think Paul was chasing me.
Yeah, I think so.
I looked back, and then as soon as my head like came back around, I just smacked it on the ceiling. It swelled up like instantly, like a big old goose egg on my forehead.
Yeah. You probably had a minor concussion from that. You hit it into it so hard.
Probably.
Add it to the list of our concussions, right?
No kidding, man.
But yeah, getting back to the San Francisco trip, same feeling as what you just said, where you felt super anxious and you didn't know how to feel. Just because we hadn't been around each other in years. Our family had stopped doing those family trips because of lots of tension between Taylor's mom and like different people
and everyone.
Yeah,
she had a bone to pick with everyone by that time, and it was because I remember it was super stressful for Grandma and Grandpa to even plan it, because then it started getting to the point where it's like, okay, we need to get 2 separate places so that instead of getting just one big place, so the people don't have to stay with each other and stuff. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was just too much for. I remember my mom telling me that Grandpa had decided that it wasn't like worth it anymore.
Yeah.
Because it had become so much work for them and so much stress on them.
Yeah. Then that's when they kind of started doing like just individual family trips. Stuff. Yeah. They just do like a weekend with each family wherever, you know.
Yeah. The dynamic kind of changed there.
Yeah.
So it had definitely been like 4 or 5 years since we had done a trip.
For
by
sure.
the time we got to San Francisco trip in 2016.
For sure.
And I remember asking Jordan about it like the week before, and he was like super excited, but he's like, I don't know how to act around these guys. And I don't know if he even remembers that, but I kind of felt the same way. And by that point, Jordan was even more introverted than I was, obviously. And I was just kind of like, we'll just go with the flow. Let's just hang out. We'll have fun. Becky will be there, and she'll make it nice. So we don't even have to worry about it. It'll be totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had a similar conversation with McKay. I was like, I don't even know like what we have in common anymore, you know?
Right.
Again, like you were super into basketball. I didn't play basketball. I didn't watch basketball. Like None of that. You know?
Your knowledge was not very extensive.
At all.
Just because you were so into football, though. And same for me with football. I knew almost nothing about football. I would watch, like, the Super Bowl and, like, Utes games if they were nationally televised, and that was it. So...
I don't think I ever watched basketball, just, like, period. In fact, like, so while we were in San Francisco, it was the 2016 NBA Finals between Golden State and the Cavs, and that was my first time watching a series ever in my life.
That's crazy.
What a series to start on.
Best series ever. We'll have to talk about that more with our brothers as well.
For sure. Because I remember that being wild. Like, while we were in San Francisco, that was going on.
For sure. I remember the town just feeling, like, excited about it. Like, people after the Warriors had won games, like, people were out in the streets and you could hear them, like, celebrating and stuff.
It was way cool.
And being in a big city like that, you can feel, like, how much those places love their teams. It's completely different than living in Utah. But anyway, long story short with that trip was transformative for all of our relationships, I think.
Yeah.
I think even after, like, the first day, we were already like, yo, this is going to be dope.
Yeah. I was super hyped. I was like, why was I even worried?
Same,
you know?
Same. Even by, I think, maybe not at the airport, but I remember at the airport, like, even our chemistry being good then, right when we were taking off and on the plane and stuff. Like, just having more to talk about than I thought we would.
Yeah. Nothing was, like, forced or anything.
Yeah.
Like, it just felt super, super natural, which was awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm sure Becky was just peeing her pants seeing all of that happen.
Oh, I'm sure. I think... I don't want to speak for Becky, but in my opinion, I don't know if she'd ever say this either, but that was probably her favorite vacation ever. Just seeing the four of us and how much fun we had the entire time. And I'd say it's probably mine as well.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And like after that, I remember we did a lot of stuff regularly too. The four of us with Becky, like we'd go and see the new Marvel movies or go get food, watch games at the Olds. That became like a regular thing all throughout our senior year.
Yeah, up until you left for your mission. And I wouldn't say we kept that same closeness because obviously we're senior year, completely different lives, living half an hour away from each other. But there was still that like bit of closeness that we had from those memories in San Francisco.
For sure. I think the other thing that was really beneficial for that is like I kind of started to understand your family dynamic better, and I think the same for you with mine.
Do you want to give background on your family situation at the time at all?
Yeah, just really briefly, things were going like really bad with my parents at the time, and during that year, they separated. They hadn't gotten divorced yet, but they were living separately. My mom has some special issues.
To put it lightly.
So because of that, it was really hard for me to always, it was always hard for me to make friends because I was usually felt like I had to be home. But it was like really cool knowing that Tanner and Jordan like were actually like cool people, and that they like kind of understood a little bit what was going on, because it's hard to like just tell, like when you're like 16, 17, it's hard to just tell someone about the things that are happening in your home life, you know.
Absolutely, because all you can see when you're that age is your life. You don't understand other people's life circumstances. You don't really understand what's going on in the world in general. And I remember my mom saying, try to be sensitive towards that, because I remember her saying that they had separated right before we went on that trip, or right around that time. And just being sensitive towards that, kind of being aware. But that was the extent of my knowledge. And my family setting growing up was obviously completely different than yours, so I didn't have a way to necessarily relate to things you were going through at that time. But yeah, for sure, we definitely kept. I don't know if in touch is the right word, but Becky was like keeping us involved in each other's lives enough through that senior year.
Yeah, she 1,000% was the catalyst for
this. Yeah, what we're doing right now.
100%. Like literally, I don't know if she'll. I think she realizes to an extent, but like, I mean, it's totally changed the rest of my life for sure.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so after we graduated from high school, we both kind of started like working a little bit and stuff. Tanner was really seriously dating Lexi at the time, and then I went on a religious mission, and that was a 2 year mission. And I remember, so before I left for that, as kind of for tradition, within the religion, you give like a farewell address to the congregation, and like your family will kind of come and hear you speak and stuff. And this is like days before I left.
Yeah, we're talking like 2 days before you leave to South Africa for 2 years.
Yeah, I think it was Sunday, and then that Tuesday I left. Right. This is in October of 2017 now. And it's kind of how the mission experience works as far as contact with your family is you can email them once a week on Monday, and then twice a year you get to call home to your family. So it's pretty minimal communication with anyone back home. But I remember like giving my address, and I was really, really excited to go, but it's kind of bittersweet. But mostly I was really excited. And then afterward, we were taking pictures and things like that, and I remember like we're taking these pictures, and Tanner just like broke down and had to leave, and that like really hit me hard, because I was like, damn, like I didn't realize how much I meant to Tanner. You know, I always considered us after the San Francisco trip like friends, but I didn't realize like that was really impactful to me, to see how much he valued me and how much he was going to miss me and everything for the next couple of years. But
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because it definitely wasn't something that I was expecting going to your farewell. I didn't think, like, because obviously I had way closer friends from my high school that I had grown up with.
Yeah.
And I didn't, like, I considered you one of my close friends probably, and of course I was going to miss you, but I didn't realize until, like, we're taking pictures of the four of us and our brothers after, and just basically saying goodbye for 2 years. I didn't realize how much I appreciated you in my life and how much I was going to miss you. And like you said, I totally broke down. I had to walk out, just because I didn't want to break down in front of 20 people who were all saying goodbye to you. And it hit me way harder than I could have expected. It hit me way harder than it hit with any of my friends that left as well, that went on missions. But it was kind of a surreal experience that I didn't understand at the time. I feel like I do understand it better now and why it may have happened, just based on our current relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a super impactful moment for me too, which is interesting because it doesn't really make sense at the time of it happening.
Yeah. But yeah, I left 2 days after that, and we kind of, like, every so often, like every 5-6 months, we'd email.
Not consistent.
Yeah.
We both weren't good at it.
No, and I hated emailing home. It's so weird, like, because it's not like I could even like chat with people because the time difference was so funky. Like, It was always such a weird dynamic, like talking with people from home. Um, and then, yeah, 2 years came and went. Right towards the end of my mission, like a couple months before I was gonna come home, before I was scheduled to come home, um, our grandpa passed away, which I think also, in an indirect way, was pretty influential in our relationship as well.
Yeah, I agree. That was in July of 2019, so yeah, just a few months before you came home.
Yeah.
But that was for the entire Smith side of the family. Was a super, I mean, heavy thing because none of us were expecting it. And without realizing, because both you and your brother McKay were on missions at that point.
Yeah.
I think everyone kind of realized that you were important pieces of the family and that we missed you as well. Because I remember, I think McKay, I don't remember, this may have been with you as well, but McKay got permission from one of the leaders on his mission to be able to call back and just say something to Grandpa.
Yeah.
Maybe you did as well.
I did.
But what you guys had to say about him, I remember listening briefly, had more of an impact on me than anyone else as well, which, again, I don't think I had talked to Kay like at all while he was on his mission, and you very little. But what you guys had to say had a huge impact on me again, and that whole experience just kind of brought the whole, like I said, our whole Smith side of the family together, and kind of pushed us together after your mission as well, even more.
Yeah.
Kind of trying to fill that void that he had left, that patriarchal leader figure in our family that he was for so many years.
Yeah, there was very much a sense of like needing to step it up and help, especially Beck and Lou.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crap, I can't remember what I was about to say about something. But yeah, it was a really heavy. That's what I was gonna say. During all of that, like I was talking with a lot of people from the family, a lot of the aunts and uncles, while I was still out there, and fortunately I was able to talk to my dad on the phone several times, and it was obviously really hard on him. You know, his dad's passing away. Because there was like a while when he was in the hospital, and it was just kind of a coin toss, really, just as to how things were going to end up.
Yeah.
And every single person that I talked to had something to say about Tanner specifically, about how Tanner was always the one going in and being next to someone when they were just having a really hard time, making sure everyone was doing okay. And kind of that while there was this period of, well, like, who the hell do we lean on now during this really hard thing, somehow it just ended up being Tanner, you know. And I think that it came at a really, really crucial time, because it's like we were adults technically, you know.
We weren't yet at the same time.
And actually realizing, like, for me, like, having the realization of, like, wow, like, our uncles and everything were depending on Tanner, you know. It's like he's really, like, he's become a man while I've been gone, you know. That was, like, really eye-opening for me, and it was like, I really need to, like, bring that same kind of energy, that same kind of force when I'm back, you know.
Yeah, I definitely felt like it was my responsibility to be there every day. I think it was probably 6 or 7 days in a row that we were up there, that different people were coming and going from the family, and I felt like no matter what, I need to be there. I don't know what it was, because I definitely didn't have that sense of maturity as much before then. But something about that, like a switch flipped in my mind. And I took it like super personally that I needed to be there specifically for Grandpa's kids, or our aunt and uncles. And I appreciate you saying that as well, because I don't know if you've ever told me that before. But yeah, by the time Taylor got home, um, obviously the family dynamic was a lot different. Taylor was basically coming home as a spiritual leader. I'm saying that with quotes. You can't see me.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was at that point. Lots of things had changed in our family in general over the last 3 or 4 years before then. And everyone was super, super excited for Taylor to come home. I remember. I mean, everyone has always loved Taylor, and it's impossible not to when you're just knowing his personality and how he makes everyone feel included and loved and stuff. But I mean, I myself was excited, but also nervous at the same time. That same feeling I had
starting over again.
Because it's so much easier to like say things over an email. Like, you probably do mean them, but even if they don't come true, it's like, well, I just said it over email, right?
Yeah.
I said it in passing 6 months ago, and it's not a big deal. And I remember, like, briefly in a few email conversations that we had on your mission, you saying, like, we should go do this. And I was like, that sounds awesome. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's no way in hell that's ever happening.
Yeah.
And like, I really wanted to hang out with you when we got back, but I didn't know, again, I hadn't had any of the same experiences that you had over the last 2 years, where my life had been completely different. My life had been focused on me and my relationship to Lexi, and working, I guess. There wasn't much else that I did, but I didn't feel the same pull to serve necessarily. And so I didn't have that same thing in common that you did, where that's all you had done for 2 years. And we had both grown up over 2 years in very different ways, and I wasn't sure what we were going to have in common. Kind of that same complex dilemma that we had gone through before. But it kind of just clicked right back into place again. And this was only, less than a week after you had gotten home. The same week we hung out, and I'll let you tell about that a little bit.
To just kind of like add on to what you were saying, I was really nervous because, just to be like extremely blunt about, the LDS culture and everything like that. A lot of people really look down on those who didn't serve missions. Just to shoot straight, that's how it is. People really look down on it. They look at people different if you didn't do it.
Yeah, we should talk about that a different time on a different episode, because I felt that for sure.
Yeah, and because how could you not feel that from people?
Yeah.
So my biggest concern coming back was like, I didn't want there to ever be a time when you would feel like I was projecting that onto you. I really wanted you, and I really want everyone to experience a lot of the things that I experienced there, because it's really the only atmosphere that you can get that, But at the same time, it's like, I didn't want you to think like that I thought I was too good for you now that I was coming back having finished the mission, or there were just a lot of things I was really worried about. I was like, I feel like I have to be really delicate with this situation and stuff.
Sure.
And yeah, like that first week that I was back, I remember I got my hair cut, and then went over to the Olds, and you and Lexi just kind of happened to be there. And just jumped right back in. I still have like really goofy pictures on my phone that we took that day.
Yeah, of us like standing weird looking at our socks or something.
Yeah, some dumb thing like that Becky took. And again, there's Becky there, just like being the catalyst for this,
Yep.
And I think how the conversation started is, you said you had some music you wanted to show me, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So we went out to Tanner's car, just parked on Blaine, and that's just how it started initially, was just with music. And then we both were super blunt and super straightforward with that. Like, look, I served a mission and you didn't. Let's just throw it out there, because
who cares?
Yeah, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
You know,
that doesn't have to be a defining part of our relationship at all.
Not at all. It doesn't even have to be something that we talk about or anything like that. You know, because I had no other idea of how to say it other than
just say it.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you did, because I definitely remember you saying that to me specifically. I really appreciated that at the time, because while you were out, I kind of found myself stuck in between these two friend groups that I had, where one was super LDS faith, you know, these are the principles, these are the things we do, and then one opposite, which I was also a group of. And by opposite, I just mean not members of the church, maybe doing some things that would be definitely frowned upon in the church. And I constantly found myself stuck between these two groups after high school, when Taylor was on his mission. And so I didn't know where I stood with a lot of things. I didn't know. I mean, maybe subconsciously I was worried about coming back and feeling judged, because some of my friends had done that. Some of my friends had come back and I hadn't felt like the relationship was the same because I hadn't served. And that memory of us sitting in my car, just enjoying random music together, just being ourselves more than anything, and then you being open with me like we talked about, it was transformative for the way I thought about myself, and also the way I thought about you, the way I felt towards you. And then ever since then, it's just been straight up for our relationship, just getting closer and closer.
Yeah, there's never been like a lull or any period that we weren't communicating with each other or anything like that since that day. Because there were no other factors. There were no parents at that point that we had to worry about. We could go and see each other whenever we wanted. We were always hanging out at the olds or doing yard work at the olds or whatever, you know.
Whatever it is. Yeah, for sure. And even when like bigger things happened for both of us, like we both got married in these 3 years since 2019, and like big changes like that happened to us. We never separated again. And that's been super important for me. I'll let you talk for yourself, but just having that, because I never had a best friend or someone that I feel like I could go to for anything growing up. I had a lot of really close friends, but they all had, in our own group, you know, they're all their own best friends with someone else.
Yeah.
So I was always kind of the odd man out, and I never felt like I wasn't appreciated in those groups, but it was the first time I ever felt like I meant something to someone else too, that wasn't Lexi, who turned into my spouse. And just never felt valued in the way that you make me feel. This is starting to sound sugar gay. But
no, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's the same for me though. Like I was always really, really close with my brother McKay growing up. But I found it really hard to make friends outside of that.
And sorry to interrupt you, but that's because you were so protective of McKay, and because of the things you went through growing up. Like that was your responsibility almost.
Yeah.
And you're almost protecting him, being the one person he could rely on always. So
For sure.
Not that you couldn't just make friends, it's that you're putting your time and effort into McKay. Right?
Yeah, I would agree there. But I feel like there's, I mean, you and McKay, it's probably, I would say you, McKay, Becky, and Ange are like the people that I'm most myself with. I don't ever feel like I have to like choose my words with you guys or maybe like put up any kind of facade or anything like that for any reason.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, like this whole last year, like has been super difficult for me. Like like Tanner said, I got married and then got divorced almost straight away. It seemed like, and Tanner was really the only person that I could talk to about all of that because he really was the only one I felt comfortable being extremely open and candid just about everything that was going on in my relationship and the things that I was feeling, you know. And even now, like, I'm just a very different person than, like, I feel like I've changed a lot since I've gone back from my mission. I mean, like, I with tattoos and earrings and, you know, like, it's just different, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
But still, like, I mean, we're here doing this weird little podcast thing, you know.
Some stupid idea I had that who knows if we'll actually remember to show to our kids, but
Right.
But yeah, I think I've changed a lot since then too, in different ways than you have. But I think we kind of somehow we reached that point early on after your mission where whatever happened, we were going to be close.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really matter, married or not, or kids or not, or druggy or not, or whatever. You know, we're going to be close no matter what.
Yeah. I think also someone who doesn't get enough credit for all of that being possible is Lexi, because Lexi is she's so good at letting you be Tanner.
Yeah.
And letting you have individualism within your guys' relationship. It's not like like if I ever ask Tanner to do something, it's not like, oh, let me get permission from my wife kind of a thing. Right. She's really, really good and really loves for Tanner to do his own thing and like have his own time for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just rip ass again.
Yes.
Bo has been ripping something fierce all like since I've been here.
Oh, it's really bad. Oh, lost my train of thought.
Bo's Tanner's dog. I don't know if we.
Bo's the dog. Beckham's first word is Bo, so he loves Bo more than anyone. Just so everyone knows. But yeah, I agree with your Lexi point. The more I think about my relationship with her, the more I realize like she has shaped me to be me more than almost anyone else, which is crazy because I mean I've known her for a long time now, and a lot of my really formative years I've been with her, but for sure she lets me be as much as myself as possible, and she understands the value that you and I have in our relationship, and she doesn't want to get in the way with that, and I think for that reason you and her have also had great chemistry and have a good friendship as well.
100%. And I think it's kind of, again, like I'm going to speak really candidly because I don't really see any.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. But like I can't think of a lot of really healthy relationships and like good dynamics that I've like witnessed growing up, and just throughout my whole life. Just being like totally honest, I don't like. Well, I think that grandma and grandpa like are amazing people. I think there were a few things that I was like, I don't know about that, like just in their relationship, you know.
Yeah, I can see it. I think it's that way with any relationship as well, because people are just so different. In a relationship with anyone, especially the opposite sex, can be so polarizing at times.
Yeah. Because you're different people, you know, which is kind of the point, you know. But like, I think just a lot of it also has to do with like it's a like generational difference and stuff like that. But the point I'm like trying to get to is seeing the way that you and Lexi are is like it's definitely something that I want to have like in my own relationship, because you guys are just so good at letting each other be each other, and I think that speaks to how well you guys know each other. I remember one time when we were over at the Olds. This is just like a month ago or 2 months ago, and there was something that Lexi like wasn't getting. She just wasn't quite understanding something. It was about like just like the healthcare thing at your work and how like different people there.
Right.
And I remember thinking in my head, I was like, oh, like this could go kind of south right here, you know, like let's see how Tanner handles this. And then I remember after you just like explained it to her, it was like, duh, like there's no reason for there to be any worry or any kind of tension, because that's just my natural way of thinking now, like seeing my parents' marriage and then also the marriage that I was involved in. It's like gotta be real careful because like someone could just snap, you know, and that's on either side.
Yeah, it's like walking down a booby-trapped hallway.
Yeah.
If you step in the wrong place, you're just dead.
Yeah. And I remember just seeing that and like you explaining it and Lexi just being like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, that's different, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting you even, remember that. I remember that conversation that we had, but I don't remember exactly what you're talking about.
And that's not even to say that like Lexi's a submissive person or,
sure,
you know, that's just her place is to just agree with what you say. Nothing like that. It's just that she understands you, you know, and she knows your intentions. And maybe when you guys were first dating or whatever, like there was a little bit of that to figure out. But to see you guys, just the way that you interact, and especially now with Beckham, like, you guys always are like clarifying stuff with each other. You know, I think we should do this at this time. What are your thoughts on this? You know, about naps or feeding or anytime he's ornery or anything like that. You guys are always like letting each other know what your thoughts are and asking what the other things they should do.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the positives about having such a long relationship before we got married. When you're able to learn the person so much and kind of fight through some difficult things, and you learn how to talk to each other, what works and what doesn't work. Sorry, I just spoke higher for some reason. But yeah, I'm really, really lucky. I'll probably, I don't know exactly how many episodes of whatever this is going to be.
Just a million
episodes.
At
some point, I'll take some time just to talk about Lexi and how much the importance she has in my life, and has had for a really long time. I physically don't know if I would be here without her. So, super grateful for that. And thank you for bringing her up. But back to our relationship a little bit. That almost brings us up to date, everything we've talked about so far.
Yeah, that's a really rough like sketch of just how we got to where we are and why Tanner and I are so close.
Yeah.
And why we plan to just be close for the rest of our lives.
Forever.
Soulmates we never knew we needed.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel almost weird wanting to do this because I don't think this is like something that I would necessarily like to do at all.
No.
I don't know how you would feel.
Yeah, definitely not. I've suggested to multiple other people to do podcasts, but I'm like, don't have me on or anything like that. Like,
and yeah, it feels weird just because we're having a conversation together, but we also know it's being recorded. So it's kind of a weird dynamic, but it also just flows so naturally with us.
We'll kind of get into a better groove eventually, I think. Dude, another random spot on my leg that's bleeding, bro.
Nice. 2 days in a row. Yeah. Well done.
Anyway, that pretty much brings us up to date. We'll have some more interesting topics for you guys in the future. Tanner and I talk a lot about music is a big one that we talk about. Like Kendrick just released his album, and that should have been an episode. I feel like I've kind of talked it out.
I know.
But I wish we could have done an episode on it.
Yeah, we had a 25-minute conversation about it.
Just on the phone.
Just on the phone, which would have been nice to record. But I'm sure we'll get back to it.
For sure.
And the more we talk, the more we'll figure out what we want to talk about. But we'll talk about a lot of different things. Like I said, if something happens to us, if we go on a vacation that's super eventful, that might be fun to tell each other about, or we'll want to have guests on. By guests, I mean our family, which will be the ones listening to it as well. So if you hear this and you want to talk to us on a podcast about your life, then yes, text us.
Or any specific topics you'd like to hear us go into more detail on, or whatever. It'd be sweet.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully this doesn't just turn into nothing.
Who knows?
That's kind of my outlook on everything. Hopefully what I'm doing just doesn't turn into anything or nothing. But yeah, thank you for listening if you did listen. If you didn't listen, then I don't know why I'm saying that. But yeah, peace.
Cheers.